So today, I'm going to take you folks through the necessary steps of what it takes to restore a Meyer lemon or citrus tree that's grown in containers that have not given you a bountiful crop of fruit, as well as has lost most of its leaves, and it looks very straggly. I'm going to show you how I deal with this, because just last year I used a different mixture. I made my own mixture, and I wanted to test and see if this more sandy-like conditions would be suitable for this tree. Now, there are some individuals who are on YouTube who are actual master gardeners, and many of them have been around for quite some time, and they specialize in this particular arena. Whether it be blackberries, raspberry, fruit, citrus, they seem to talk the talk and walk the walk. But when I tried that method, I said, let me see what would happen if I tried their method. And for 1 year, I did a longitudinal study right here in my garden. For 1 year, I not only planted this tree in this medium, in this container, but I also planted it into an open container that's open to the ground, the same medium. And I also planted the Meyer lemon inside the ground, out in my wood chip area. I'll tell you something right now. Here's what happened. Well, we know what happened here. We can see from the results. So we're going to get a little closer, and I'm going to show you folks exactly what this Meyer lemon looks like. Now, make no mistake about it. I'm not taking away any other master gardener or expert that have been doing this for years. But just because they have the title expert or master gardener doesn't mean we should listen to it and take the information solely as key information. We need to do our own research, and that's what I've done. So I'm going to show you how to restore the health of your Meyer lemon if it looks like this. So let's get a little closer, and I'm going to show you there's only a few things you need to do. You ready for this? It's quite shocking. Or is it? So right here, you could see the Meyer lemon inside of this container. And from the look of it, it looks to be suffering. Well, quite honestly, it is. And I'm here to fix and give it the cure it needs. So I have a few tools with me here today. A shovel and a pitchfork. I'm going to be utilizing these tools, but I'm going to need some other items to bring this tree back to life. So I want you folks to really take your time and watch this video. All your questions will be answered right here. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to show you something. I have some citrus and fruit fertilizer here. You can use this for your avocados, for those of you who are interested. Made by E.B. Stone. It's organic. So I'm going to be using some of this because I'm going to have to restore that nutrition that is no longer present in that soil. But for right now, I'm just going to put this aside, out of the sunlight. Now, the first thing I'm going to do, I have a pair of scissors, and I have some potting and planting soil that's made for azaleas and rhododendrons, for acid-loving plants. Citrus trees are acid-loving plants. The pH they would rather be in is between 4.5 and 5.5. And I've gone ahead and tested my soil. And I'll show you that on another segment of how to test your soil. I'm going to show you that. It's going to be quite interesting. So when I test my soil, I use a tester by a company called Luster Leaf, Rapid Test Soil Tester. And it looks just like this. You can't see it much right now, but make no mistake about it. You can pick these up for 10 or 15 bucks, and they work wonders. You can pick them up to test the pH as well as the NPK. Very important. So let's get to it. The first thing we're going to need to do is to remove this tree. How do we do that? Well, I'll tell you something. For those who have limited mobility and those who are disabled and don't have a lot of strength, a pitchfork is going to make your life easier, even if you're in a wheelchair. It's going to make your life easier. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at the canopy of the tree. And the canopy, even though there's no leaves here, we have to look at how far the branching has reached out. You can pretty much sum up that the root ball is probably going to be about 1/4 of an inch wider than the outside canopy. So I'm going to loosen it up and go around the outside. And that's what you want to do, so you can at least get some lifting out of the container for this. But before we do that, we literally got to go in here and we have to remove all of the wood chips. And that's what you want to do, because you don't want the wood chips falling in your soil. Not as though they're going to be a harm, because part of my soil medium here requires small to medium bark. So wood chips act the same way. But what we're going to do right now is we're going to simply move them, and we're going to toss them out in the wood chip area, because I can always pick those back up, or any other wood chips, and make sure I put them back on top for mulch, because that's really what I'm using them for. Just get as much as you can. You don't have to worry about getting it all out of there. Okay, now a lot of people will tell you that it's best to do this when the soil is wet. I say no. And if this tree has been suffering the way it looks, I can almost guarantee you the root ball hasn't grown much. Because if it had, it'd be a much difficult tree. And you can see by what I'm doing here that it's coming up pretty good. Look at that. Now for a year, this tree has been sitting in this soil, and it has done nothing. Literally nothing. Nothing. So it's my job to restore its health. I'm going to put this to the side. I'm now going to come in here. I'm going to now take my shovel. When I take this shovel, my goal here is to take as much of this out that is required, so that I could backfill with my new amendments. In fact, why don't we do that? I'm going to come here. We're going to check something really quick. Okay, it seems like we're right on target. I'll put those 2 lemons that failed right there. So I'm going to take this container here, and we're going to pump all the ingredients in that container that we're going to use to backfill. We're going to take a full bag, okay? A full bag, 1.5 cubic feet of this soil for acid-loving plants. We're going to cut across here, and we're going to just dump it all in there like so. Now, depending on how much we need, we may need to dump another bag, but we'll see. Now I have some good old perlite right here. Now you can get this perlite at hydroponic stores. Nurseries carry them, but a lot of times they don't carry the large bags. I used to use vermiculite, and I still love vermiculite. But perlite is available right now locally, and vermiculite only comes in very small bags, which is not enough for me to waste my money on. So, again, when you get good at this, you don't need measuring. But I'll suggest and give you an example. If you're going to be putting new soil in a 5-gallon container, then you want to make sure that you have 65% azaleas mix, and you need at least 15% of this perlite, okay? Because what you're using this for is to loosen up the actual soil. You're making it more porous. Citrus doesn't like to sit in soggy soil. Now there's another thing that I like to do, and I'll be back in just a moment. Now I have some play sand here. You can pick this play sand up from any big box store, Home Depot or Lowe's. And all you need is a few handfuls. That's it. So I'm gonna sit this here. I'm gonna take that play sand, and that's gonna help with drainage. Don't put more than that. Trust me, you. We're gonna set that to the side. Now remember, your nutrients are inside of your potting mix, but we're gonna add some more nutrients in there. Very important, please take note. Just cut a small slit in there. Now, how much nutrients? Look at the recommendations on the back according to the square footage of the container you're using. If you understand basic math, you'll be able to figure that out. For me, this is an organic fertilizer. All you need is a few handfuls. You can't harm your plant with organic fertilizer. Now that we have this mixture, we're going to have to take this shovel. We're going to have to mix it up. Now, typically, if you're creating your own potting soil for your citrus plants, you're going to use 65% azaleas planting or potting mix, and you're going to use 5% coco coir and 30% small to medium chip pathway bark. Now, I still use that mix, but I modified it slightly. You notice that I added some sand here. Now in this container here, there was no soil already created for Os 11 plants. I had to add sulfur. And trust me, you, adding sulfur, you need about 2 to 3 months for it to really get in there and change the acidity level of the soil. If it changes it, you may go too, you may put too much in there. So now I got to get in here and I got to take out some of this soil. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my tree and protect it. I'm going to put it over here. on top of that seat. Now I'm going to go in here and take out soil. Now I see a lot of white in here. This is mycorrhizae. Now this is what disturbing the soil. You're disturbing all of that. Now what I want to do is, you don't want to throw that aside. You want to take that and put it aside somewhere, because you're going to place that back into your container once you're done. And the reason why you want to do that, because you're going to take the colony of mycorrhizae, place it back over here. Remember, the soil makes mycorrhizae. Let's take this on out of here. And this soil can be mixed and nutrients can be added. There's a lot of sand in here, but this is really tough soil. Trust me when I tell you. I can use this for my containers. All I have to do is add some fertilizer and I'm set. Look how thick that was. Do you folks see that? That's because I added a ton of sand according to the instructions. I won't say his name, but if anybody know me, wow, look at that. The roots couldn't break through that at all. This is ridiculous. I may have to use 2 bags here. It's not bad soil. It just needs to be amended with a lot more mix, as well as the, well, I'm talking about the azaleas mix. Now, the reason I'm doing this video in this mode, folks, is I want to show you the real deal. Okay? Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this to the side. I'm going to take this container here, and I'm going to pick it up and I'm going to dump it. Now, if you got mobile issues, stick with the shovel. I've come a long way since my time when I couldn't walk. And we're going to mix that up with the bottom stuff a little bit, okay? Very important. Now, the first thing we want to do is want to get in here and sort of feather this around. We want to take that tree that we previously had and want to sit it in here like so. Make sure you put it, you know, situated in a way that's going to be appealing and aesthetically pleasing to the handles. That's my front. So I want to make sure. I don't want to put it like this, because look, then it's kind of, doesn't look right, right? Remember, the top of the root ball, feeder roots, and a lot of those will die if it's not getting the proper nutrition. So you want to make sure it's slightly above soil line. Here's the top of the container. So what I want to do, I want to move a lot of this soil here to the side. There we go, right there. Okay? And I want to see exactly, ooh, I just poked myself in the eye with that thorn. Okay, I want to pull it up a little bit, just a little bit. There we go. And so what I want to do now is get another bag and mix it and pour that on top. Or I can use this mix here and put that there, but I won't. Now I won't put any more sand in here because if I need sand, all I have to do is just take from the soil I already removed. It may look like spring and summer here, but trust me, we're not in the March or April. And those April showers are coming. That'll be a good thing. What people don't realize about the April shower, those later rains, is that's a sign of letting everything know that spring has arrived. Okay, folks, now I'm not going to tip this barrel over because I got the tree there. But instead of making a mess, you're going to carefully just backfill it. That's all you got to do. Now remember, the soil that I'm using inside the bags, azaleas, camellias, for acid-loving plants, it already has the correct pH in it. This is why it's a good alternative for home gardeners. Now that I place the soil in here, we have to make sure we get around here. We get this tree as straight as possible. The other thing, you may find yourself removing soil simply because, again, you want those feeder roots to be on top. And then you could cover them up with wood chips. See, there's the feeder roots right here. See that? That's the feeder roots. So you want them sitting on top. So what you do now, you take the opportunity to add you some worm castings, like so, just to activate all the biological microorganisms in there. You don't need much. But then again, the old rule of thumb is the more worm castings, the better. So I'm just going to put a little bit here. Going to mix that around, get it about an inch or so deep. Now remember, when you water this, the soil is going to recede. No worries if that happens. And you need to bring the soil level back up to where it needs to be, to optimal levels. You have the remaining soil here. So, it's a little workout. This is why labor in the garden is not a joke. So I'm gonna take my gloves off for a moment here. And I'm gonna go to the opposite side here. I have to turn my water on, so bear with me. Alrighty, well, let's go ahead and water this in, and we'll see how much the soil actually recedes. But before we do that, we're gonna have to take this colony here of mycorrhizae we saw being created and move it back into this container. So I'm gonna put a little hole back and set that down there. Gonna go over here and set a little bit right there. I'm gonna set a little bit right there and set a little bit right there. People don't know how important that is. It's still alive, folks. It hasn't died yet. I can guarantee you that, okay? If you look around your yard and look at the wood chips and barely go beneath the surface and you'll see mycorrhizae. Okay, let's water this in. Now, when it comes to citrus and fruit trees, a lot of people ask me, well, can I repot mine now? You can repot citrus and fruit trees all year round. Here's the reason why. During the spring and summer months, the tree is actively growing. Perfect and optimum time to repot, replant, pot up, whatever you got to do. Even to prune. During the winter months, the tree is semi-dormant. It's not dormant, it's semi-dormant. That's why it stays green. It's considered an evergreen. Alrighty, so you can see the feeder roots right here, clearly visible. Perfect measurements every time. Follow the instructions and you'll be successful too. Now that I got this whole puddle going, I'm gonna turn this water down. I'm gonna utilize the wheelbarrow here. And I'm gonna go ahead and let it soak until it starts coming out of the holes, if I can get it stable. All right, let it come out of the hole. When it comes out of the draining holes at the bottom, that's when you know you have thoroughly watered your tree in. Now, folks, that's all for now. And we'll keep an eye on this tree as time permits. And we'll come back with part 2, part 3, etc., etc. However much we have to record to making sure you folks see the progress of this tree. Now, let's turn this water down a little bit more. Okay, that should work. It ain't gonna be long before it starts coming out of the drainage holes. So, take a good look at this tree and we'll come back and revisit it. It's the MEYER lemon, the improved versions. In the past, I used to go through another company, okay? But this company showed up at Green Acres, and this is Dave Wilson Nurseries, and I think this one here is called Heinz Growers. That's what this company is. We'll see what happens. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other. I have some work to do, a whole lot of work to do. Let me go and check out the rest of the garden. Until next time, from my heart to yours, organic's best, Urban Gardener. Now here's one of my lemon trees, my MEYER lemon. This is a semi-dwarf, and you can see all the new foliage coming along. Some of the areas are starting to bud and whatnot. I did have a couple of flowers on a few of them, but I knocked them off simply by relocating the lemons over in this area. I'm going to show you folks how to prune this at some point. I don't require, or my advice would be not to prune in the first 2 to 3 years, but there's going to be times when your tree has gone through a lot of stress, and pruning off some of the branching and shaping it, it's going to send that energy back into the root system. Let's go down here and look at the other 2 lemons I've also potted up. These were previously in the ground. Here's another one with a lot more foliage and so forth. In fact, this was the one I did the video on. It says "Oh Bug #1" right there. Okay, and you see all of new growth. In another month, this thing is going to be loaded with leaves, and I used a secret to force blooming. That means lots of nitrogen. This is the time to hit it with an NPK. Your N is the nitrogen. You want that to be the highest number possible. Your P and K, you want it at 0, zip, nada. Okay, and here's the other lemon here. So remember, I had one over here, and I had 2 in a one in a wooden bed there, box, and 1 in a container. But they're all in containers now, 40-gallon containers. They'll live here for the rest of their lives. All right, folks, stay tuned. I got more coming. This is just an update.